What is up, guys? This is Alex from First Figures.
Hey there everyone, this is Chuggles.
Who do we have here? Spyro the Dragon! Boom! Of course, this is a PVC. It's not a resin. It's a true form PVC. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on. But Chocks, how sweet. We're here now finally talking about this project. We've been tee-heeing all the way since 2017. We've been knowing about that remastered coming out.
Yeah.
A lot of tee-heeing going on, but finally we're here, Chocks. We can now show everyone this. Now, of course, this isn't the first time people have seen it. We actually debuted him at Gamescom 2018, which was just, of course, in August of this year. And, you know, a lot of people certainly who came onto the stand were like, oh my god, it's Spyro PVC, and boom. You know, very, very happy with what they saw. And hopefully you guys like what you see here. But yeah, Chocks, it's been a long time in coming.
It's been a long time. Everyone's hyping up for it. There's a buzz going around it because obviously Activision is releasing the game.
Sure it's not Sparks' Wings that's got the buzz going on?
Yeah, so, you know, Activision with a reignited version of Spyro the Dragon game coming out soon. So, yeah, perfect timing.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, cool, Chuck. So what are we doing here? Well, these are the making of documentaries. If this is the first time you've ever seen one of these, we do a whole range of these things every time we put a new product up for pre-order or for launch. We go a little bit into about why we're making it and some of the design choices. And of course, Chocks, we answer some of those questions.
That's right. So if you want a question answered from us, make sure you join our First Figures Official Collectors Club on Facebook. In there, when Alex was saying, every time we make a launch, we post a topic, a thread in there asking you guys if you have any questions with regards to this documentary. So
boom.
yeah,
I believe we've got quite a few of them this time.
Yes, there's a ton to go through for this one.
Yeah, so we don't answer all of them, and of course we will the ones that are better, sort of represent what we need to go through anyways. And of course, if you have any questions, if you're watching this on YouTube, etc., just post a question down below or some comments, and we'll get back to you on that in the comments straight afterwards.
Yeah, so please enjoy the documentary.
Absolutely. All right, Chucks.
All right.
What you got for me?
Right, first question.
Straight in there.
No messing about. Brenton Friedley, how long did you know about the remastered game before it was officially announced?
What was it, Chocks? I think I was like what's the expression? A giddy schoolgirl when I gave you a call. Chocks, I've just had a phone call with Activision. Spyro Remastered is coming. We had no idea what the name was, but I was giggling.
Yeah, I think we were kind of all anticipating it, and we were really excited to see how Spyro looked as well.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, well, you know, in terms of knowing that it was coming, we knew it was confirmed. Going through my chain of my records, it's just under a year ago, Chocks. So it would have been 2017 November, I would say. 27 November, I think I had the initial conversation, and I was like, Chocks, oh, it's time to go again. And at that stage, no idea what the name was, no idea about nothing apart from the fact that the details of that stage was pretty, should I say, sort of not very concrete at that time. And it wasn't until actually after sort of Chinese New Year that I can recall actually seeing the
this is like around
file.
about
So February 2018
time, 2018
is when we actually first saw what it looked like. So we'd known that it was coming a fair amount of time beforehand. I believe the announcement trailer was April. I believe it was April 2018 when, is that right? Where we actually knew about the name, the Reignited Trilogy, etc., etc. Knowing about that was, I believe, then. And yeah, man, just...
And here we are, finally.
How's our poker face? What? You had no idea?
Yeah, so, I mean, guys, do check out our official blog on our website. We've made a post recently with regards to how we started off with the Spyro resin, and then leading up to the Spyro PVC. This is like a short little story of how that happened on there. So do check out our blog as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely we knew about it a while ago, and it's been such an honor to know about that. It's we're very blessed in this industry to be able to know about these sort of things, and it's both a blessing and a curse. Of course, I want to scream it from the top of the mountains, but not allowed to do that.
Keep it silent. That's right.
Those are NDAs for reasons. But definitely it was really cool to be able to see that. So, as you were saying, Chokes, it's something that we actually tried to come up with a Spyro PVC way back when. So you talked a little bit about that blog post. Well, I'll just give a bit more of an expansion on that. So we had done Spyro resin in 2017 in July. And it was pretty soon after that we had the initial conversation with Activision. Because I actually asked people if they wanted to see a Spyro PVC, just generally, back then. And I think over 1,000 likes for their post for yes, meaning that we wanted to have a conversation with Activision about that. But unfortunately, we were always said no. We were always told no. And so there was definitely those conversations that we were having with them ever since July 2017. So I'm not quite sure whether or not my contact at Activision was like, oh my god, Alex keeps hassling my ass for Spyro PVC. Should we just like make a whole new game, like a remaster, just to start them up? Maybe that's the reason why we have the remaster game. No. Maybe not quite sure that's what happened, but definitely the news of it having every few months, hey, just checking in. The times, it wasn't a definitive no, it was a not right now. Yeah. Now, I don't know if it was a not right now because they knew that they were working on it or just because the whatever it was, but the point was, certainly I kept going every few months, hey, just checking in about that. Is the timing right now? Is the timing right now? And then finally I was like, is the timing right now? Expecting a no, but oh yes, but by the way, yes, we have a...
So they were ready at the time.
yeah, absolutely. So I was just like, oh my god, my jaw just dropped, etc., etc. I was like, oh man, this is going to be sweet. And so we knew that we wanted to do a Spyro PVC way back in July 2017. We weren't given the permission to do it until we had that conversation that it coincided with the announcement of the Spyro reignited, remastered, etc., etc. So that is how we're here now. Spyro was something we wanted to do for the longest of time. So boom, here we are, that we can actually finally be here and check him out. There he is. Let's give him a spinneroonie, yeah?
All right. Next question from Damien Bell. What was it that made you want to make Spyro as the first in the new line of TF PVCs, where they are now going to be numbered in this expansion of the PVC range?
So let's just talk a bit about the history of the PVCs here at First, because we've been predominantly known as a resin company, but that actually is, definitely, I would say, if you were going to have to name us as a type of company, it would definitely be resin, at least for now. But we've dabbled in PVC in the past. We made those sort of Sonic minifigures back in the day and some 5-inch ones, and we've been doing some things back and forth. But really, there's been a new sort of thinking over here at First Figures where we actively said, you know what, we want to actively be known not just as resin, but also known for PVC as well. I think it's really key for our sort of expansion. I feel like it's like almost like a kind of pyramid of products that we can offer, where you start with things like a more accessible PVC range that gets people in, and then they realize, oh, you guys also offer resins, and what's the difference and what's that all about? And then you have this sort of idea of these sort of PVCs and resins sort of being as in kind of how shall I say, part of a family of products. And then I think in the future we'll see some plush ranges coming out from us. So First Figures in the future, I think, will not just predominantly be known as just resin. It will be actually a multitude of different products. That's where I want to see the company go in the future. So with the whole idea of PVCs now becoming more and more important for us, if we just quickly go over the sort of recap of what we did, we actually sort of had that thought of actually saying we're going to be doing PVCs as a more, not as a one-off, but more as a continuous range. That really started off with the Breath of the Wild link that we made way back in 2017, and that came out March time? I believe it was March.
Yeah, it's coincided with the
Switch launch. That's
Switch release,
correct, yeah. And then we followed that up with Crash Bandicoot, obviously with our relationship with Activision. We developed that with them, and subsequently we introduced our SD line, which was from Dark Souls. Of course, you have Artorias, and we have Solaire. Now these are the 4 first offerings of the products that we're doing. Now, when we actively started saying that we want to do more and more of these PVCs and we want to actively have that as a range for us, all of a sudden, when we start talking about our products, there's no point, we can no longer just simply say, oh yeah, we're working on a Spyro. Before Chocks, you could say Spyro and it could just, it would always be by default mean a Spyro resin by default, because that's what we're known for. Now, it's not okay just to simply say we're working on a, let's say for example, an Artorias. I'll give you an example, right, an Artorias. Now of course, yes, we made Artorias in resin, but we also made an Artorias SD. Now the moment you say SD, you know it's actually not a resin, it's a PVC piece. Now, if we ever went and made, let's say, I'm not saying it's happening at all, but I'm just saying, for example, a Artorias in a normal proportion, but in PVC, I would call it an Artorias TF. So PVCs are now broken down into 2 types. The first type is, as we talked about, are these TFs, where the characters are exactly like it's supposed to be from the game, from the movie, from the anime, whatever it's supposed to be. It's supposed to look just like it. We call it TF to represent true form, and we know that it's a PVC. Now we can also say SD, and SD is super deformed. And then you know it's a PVC, it's a super deformed with a big sort of enlarged head, that cutesy style. Now that, of course, is also a PVC. So no longer can I just simply say Artorias. I can say Artorias SD TF. No longer can I say just Spyro. I might need to specify Spyro TF SD resin. So let's say we get a new license. We can say, oh, we have license, and then we say we have in SD, and we're going to be doing in TFs, and we're also going to be doing them in resins. And then hopefully in the future we can start adding PL plushies.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's from like, over the many years of experience and feedback from the consumers. A lot of people, you know, like I said, they started off collecting resins, but you know, we want to bridge that gap even closer for those guys that are used to collecting game collections, collector's editions.
Absolutely.
So it's like a kind of in between step before they move up into resins. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so PV's a great entry as well, and the size of this as well. You know, you can actually have quite a lot of PVCs in this range, and it still doesn't take too much space.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and that's absolutely right. So if you consider the fact that we're going to be looking for this direction, it made sense to bring the numbering system of Trueform TF to apply to these, because we started doing that with SDs, because we sort of, by the time we had sort of developed the SDs for the Artorias and Solaire, we really kind of knew that this is something, that PVCs is something that we want to be expanding into. Right. So we sort of thought.
Don't forget though, we also had the exclusive edition for the Crash Bandicoot.
That's absolutely
PVC.
right. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I mean, and that's all sort of stages of experimentation of how to do and what actually works and what worked and what didn't work. But the point is, by the time that we did SD, it was quite good because we actually knew that this was going to be something that we're going to plan to do a lot of in the future. Right. So therefore we said we have the chance to now say, you know what, we're going to make sure we can get this numbering system right. So we have SD representing super deformed, and then we have the numbering system 001, 002, etc, etc. Now we didn't have that for the first 2 PVCs that we made that are TF, and of course that was Link and Crash. If everything was normal and we went back and we knew that at that stage that we were going to be doing those, because we thought that was just going to be a one-off, we would have done that as TF001, and then that would have been TF002, and this actually would have been TF003, but I was kind of in 2 minds whether or not to go to 003 for Spyro, or just, you know, those first, we're going to call them 0 and 00, and this is 01. We're going to go from there, and we're going to consider that Spyro is going to be leading the charge with the first of the TF names for PVC. So we're now very, very clear moving forwards. Every single TF that we ever make moving forwards will have a number based afterwards, and we're going to kick it off with 001. Right here, Spyro. Boom! I love it, Chocks. I love it.
Yeah. The TF line.
The TF line. Not to be confused with the SD or the resins. Boom!
Right, next question from Thomas Drew. How did you decide on the pose for this figure? Was it hard to choose? Keep up the great work, guys.
Alright, so why don't we talk a little bit about this? I think, Chocks, I think we should be talking a little bit about, before we go into the pose, let's talk a little bit about the sort of details, and then we can talk a little bit more about the pose as well.
Yeah, sure.
So, one you want to sort of take a kind of stab at going from horns, ow! You know, from the horns and going, make your way down. Talk about some of the details that you see. You can talk about the paints as well, and then we'll talk
straight
about...
away. I mean, guys, if you're a Spyro fan, you would know the obvious difference from the upgrades that the original Spyro Dragon from the old PlayStation 1 game and the new upcoming reignited version. The whole totally new design of Spyro.
Upgrade is
itself.
perhaps not the word, it's the redesign, I would say.
Yeah.
But you know, the differences.
Well, there's a lot of things upgraded, right? HD upgraded, so it's kind of like
Oh,
more
sure.
detailed than it was before. If you guys checked out the demo, make sure you do. Yeah, so a lot of details, the scales on the back.
Individually painted, yo.
Yeah, all different shapes and sizes. You know, you can actually feel the bumps.
They're raised.
Yeah, the raised on the back, and that's just the scales. And then you have the actual
sort of ridges along the
ridges,
back.
even higher ones along the back, that runs along down the back towards the end of the tail. Yeah.
Yeah. So of course, I mean, if we talk from the horns, you can really see that we've got these beautiful lines going through there. That really goes from the front all the way down to the back, as you can imagine. So as it sort of spins around, you can really sort of see how that goes around from both. And you've got it really nicely, perfectly contrasting between the purple of the head and the yellow of the horns, going into the mohawk.
Yep.
And you know, it's got those sort of ridges going down the edges there. You can see that.
See the size of the mohawk.
Right.
Yeah.
You can really sort of see that. And if we talk a little bit about the actual face itself, as you said, it's really on point from the actual game, from the actual, obviously, the reignited game itself. But the details on that really is to do with the way that the expression is there, the way that we've got the nostrils having little, the nostrils aren't just circles, they have little sort of almost like quotation marks. Front, or how do I call it? Ones are sort of you know, going like that, and the other one's going like that.
Yeah.
Sort of quotation marks on, if you're sort of doing it that way, sort of rounded like that. And if you keep on going, you have these beautiful wings with the webbing going in between.
Yeah, you can actually feel it. It's not just flat.
It's not just flat.
Yeah, the webbing itself, you can actually feel the lines between.
Absolutely.
Each webbing.
And you know, Spyro has that kind of hardened surface. They got the kind of the horns there, but you also have it where else, Chocks? That kind of style.
Kind of style we're talking about.
This kind of lined, ridged kind of. You would obviously you expect the horn to be hard, right? So what else? Do you have that kind of armor plating, kind of? I would say
along his front.
Yeah, and then goes all the way. If you
all the way.
All the way underneath.
Underneath the belly, all the way up until the bottom
of the tail.
Bottom of the tail.
So it goes all the way from neck, all the way down to the bottom of his tail. That's got that same sort of feeling, Chocks, of the hardened kind of horn, kind of armor kind of effect. I would sort of say that you have that kind of material with that. So you can really kind of see how the kind of softness of the sort of leathery kind of feeling of the mohawk kind of matches with the same styling of the wings, and of course you have that kind of armored look from the horns that you've been applied here. Activision Toys of War did a great job reimagining that, and hey, it's no credit to us, it's all credit on them, and we just basically took that and applied it to the model itself. So their designs were fantastic, and I love to see how that really kind of get translated well into the figure itself. And again, you have that kind of circular tail going on over here. That's the same kind of thing that you have for the wings, for the mohawk, that kind of style. But you know, I definitely really enjoyed making this, seeing that, how that came across. And again, you also sort of feel that kind of ridge. You know how like you have a kind of chest bone going down here that's a little bit more pointy? That was something that was quite particular. We wanted to make sure we had that in the piece as well, and that's still, you see it right there, Chocks?
Yeah.
Going kind of, having that kind of, that sort of point there.
Point.
It's sort of, yeah, exactly right. And hey, the details, as you were saying, of the scales, of the different colors over there, it's giving not just one tone of purple, but you actually see, can you see all the different kind of shadings in there as well,
I mean, the body itself is one purple. Then
Right.
you get the scales, a much darker purple. and then you get the actual, what do you call them?
I would say the spine ridges.
The spine, yeah, they're a different type of purple as well.
And if you consider the shading going down it all, the shading along in the face, in the grooves, along here on the back, and we've given his feet very slightly darker.
Shading between each kind of a toe, right? Each
Right.
feet, claw.
Right. Absolutely. And that shading effect has really gone all the way throughout the entire piece. You see shading going all the way. It's not just one yellow for the horns or the mohawk or the tail or the wings.
Yeah.
You know, or the oranges there. It's full of shading effects.
It's shading around like between the armor and the actual the seam down the neck, and then the shading around the face just gives it extra depth.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's really easy for it to look a little bit cheap if you don't have it. You need to have that kind of depth to it to really sort of bring that out. And but can we just focus on those eyes, Chocks? Look at those eyes. The way he's looking at you.
Yeah. It's nice and glossy.
It's lovely and glossy.
Yeah.
And the actual eyes themselves, it's not just one color black, it's not just one color purple, it's got details in there. Talk a little bit about what you can see.
Yeah, so like the top of the eyes kind of like starts off a little darker purple, and it goes kind of like, because of the shading. Yeah, the black
graduation effect,
graduation
yeah.
It goes all the way down, and it's much more of a brighter purple down towards the bottom.
Yeah. And then around that, on the outer side, is a darker black.
Yeah.
So you have that purpling effect you were talking about within a black circle.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you obviously have the pupil itself, which is black, and then you have a white highlight. Add a little bit of gloss, add a little bit of shading around the actual whites.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, and the eyes are really important. It gives that a little bit of a pop, a little bit more of a concentration, a little bit more of that focusing.
A bit more soul to it, a bit more character.
Yeah, for sure. Now, let's talk a little bit about the pose. Here we are. Now, he is a animal. You're not talking about, when you talk about, when you talk about superior and inferior, posterior and anterior, we're talking more about the fact that when he stands, he's not standing straight. He's not a humanoid character. He's standing like a doggy, right? He's a good purple boy, right? The goodest of boys, right? And he would stand him standing straight would be on all fours like a dog, like an animal, like a dragon would be, right? So the idea is he isn't particularly tall, but he has that sort of depth that most others wouldn't have, because he is, as I said, it's front and back rather than up and down. Now the pose of himself, he's quite. Do you remember when we got those files from Activision? We went through a lot of the different choices for the animations that they had, and it was really useful. And ultimately, what's quite interesting is we made this pose because we had an absolute timeline to get towards, which was to try and coordinate it coincided as close as we could with the game release. And the idea that we would have gone, if everything was being equal, maybe would have done it, was based on the cover, right? But we didn't know what the cover was going to be like, and we were given absolute full autonomy to be able to choose the pose that we wanted to do with Toys for Bob. We're really happy to work with us with that, and which obviously we really appreciate. We based that off of a really little bit of footage that we got, and the fact that he's running around. Of course, there are gems in the OG game, and there were gems in the remastered version, of course. So it made sense that we wanted to bring something from the world and bring it into the actual piece itself. So there we have him with the crystal gem on his, obviously he's holding it, he's protecting it, it's his plaything, etc. He's collected it, and he's looking really happy as a result. Now talk a little bit about that gem, Chocks. It's not, one of the problems we had originally, Chocks, was, do you remember, it was very rounded. The edges of the gem weren't that sharp, crisp, diamond cut, crystal cut kind of finish that you would expect. Now that's not quite the case here. What do you think, Chocks?
No, we went back to the drawing board and make sure that we weren't going to make it too smooth. We had to be really clean, sharp angles. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so adding it to it, as I said, it was really important to give it that little extra element from the game into this as well.
Yeah, I mean, back on the pose we were talking about, right? It's like he's not really in a defense mode or an attack mode. He's just like relaxed, just grabbed his gem.
Happy.
Yeah,
Look at the smile on his face.
Sitting down on his rear hind, just yeah.
You know, of course, it's important to talk a little bit about his smiling expression that he's got there. That's why he's in that relaxed state and he's happy and everything's good with the world. He's not. No one.
It's just like having a pet where if for example a dog, if the dog's happy, the tails will be
wagging,
pointing over. It's kind of like really happy.
This is just before he finds out that Nasty Knock completely changes all of his family into like crystal dragons and stuff.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like you can imagine him, very happy with himself, flapping his wings and his tail waggling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Next question from Brandon Rostello. How did you decide on the base?
So that's quite an interesting conversation. I know that when we did the initial reveal over at Gamescom 2018, a lot of people were like, oh, it should be painted green. And here's an interesting thing. People are saying that because they think that it's more representative of how it is. However, when you played the original Game Chocks, the green grass was completely flat because that was the technology back then, right? You're running around in a PS1 era kind of sort of layout and landscape. It's going to be all green and it's flat, representing grass. And this is not actually from that area. And to be clear, we designed this, developed it based on the information we had at the time, pre-alpha footage, or alpha footage, whatever it was at the time. So this is going back February, so it's quite early on. And the homeworld that he's in has grass, and it's beautiful long grass, because that's the technology nowadays. If you're on a PS4, you can definitely get the grass going on, right? Now, when he's running around, he goes off that section, off the grass section, he kind of goes in a cave area. And the cave area is this beautiful purples and this kind of floor pipe, purple and pinks that we have over here. And that is what this is based on. There is no grass in that area. It's not green and it's not supposed to be raised. It's that kind of pathway within a kind of cave system. That is what this is really based on, Jocks. And that is the reason why we're not just making it green, because it doesn't make sense. The grass is represented by real grass now in the game. So, that's assuming that's what made it to the final cut. But based on the footage that we saw, that's what it was up, and that's the reasoning why it is like that. Now, I can understand that people were a little bit surprised about that, but hopefully you understand now the reasoning and the design reasons behind doing it this way. It's based on an area of what we saw from the footage.
All right, hope that answers your question, Brendan. Right, next one from Melissa McLeod. What has been the most challenging part of the PVC to get right mode? The right mode? Right/mode.
To get right mode or pass. Okay, that is a really great question, and I think in order to answer that, we're going to have to show you something through the power of technology in 3, 2, 1. Boom! Check it out, guys. It's that time again, Chuck's 3D puzzle time. Let's go. Here we go. Injection, raw pieces here. I love it. Spyro looks like some sort of nightmare creature without it. You told me, call me on my Spyro telephone.
Cool, we should make a Spyro phone.
Right. Before we keep on going, let's build up this thing, because right now it's looking pretty nightmarish. Let's go with, what do you want to go with first? The eyes? Oh no, let's go with I guess the horns would make sense. Yeah, so we got the horns are over here. I'm in. Interesting. Okay, actually you need to do it at the same time as the helmet. Sorry, the helmet. You got yourself the...
Really? At the same time? I don't have to.
No, you don't actually. What I'm seeing is, because of the way that they connect through it, actually I'm just saying there's a little gap, an extra gap there. We do that for extra glue space. If you see that, Chunks, when you put that on. Oops. Can you see there's a little gap there in between? Do you have that on yours as well?
Yeah.
It allows for a bit of glue to pass through to make sure that you connect both sides, including the horns. So you got your horns in?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this one is over here. All right.
There you go.
There you go. So far, so good.
Super horns.
Yeah.
It's like charge.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. All right, so the next thing to do is let's put in his eyes. Now these eyes are separate pieces like this. So go top down, right?
Okay.
Look at his eyes, they all connect like this. How random is that? But the way that it's been done, because of this ridge at the front, we can slice that in there, slide that bad boy in, and it nicely slots it. That's it. Angle it straight up.
Yep.
Yep, got it in. All right. And once it goes in, it's like a perfect fit.
Yeah.
The way you can see it from the boldness coming from the side. It's got to get that circular coming out, that protrusion. The mouthpiece. Let's add that in there. Now remember guys, all of these are being used by, the way we do it in mass production is we heat these up to give it a bit of malleability and put it in together, and it allows for it to be yeah, indeed, it stops from that happening.
There you go.
Alright, so now I've got all together. Yeah, alright.
Got some weird colours going on.
That's a special variant version.
Yeah.
Alright, so next is the chest piece. Now you've got to slot it in. You see this little ridge at the top there? You kind of slot it in underneath the neck and push it into the body. So that should. Oops, I just lost the plot. I'm gonna put the horns in at the end, right? As we're turning it around, put the horns in at the end. Therefore, that holds the mouthpiece in place. You got yours in?
Yeah.
Yep. So after that, as I said, I put the horns in at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, put the horns in at the end. Then we have the. I guess we could always slot the tail in, right?
The tail or the lower half
Yeah,
of
okay,
the
yeah.
body armor?
All right, cool. That's my piece there. Lower half. We should be like totally selling these as separate things. Jigsaw puzzles.
This is gonna be tricky because the body needs to be flexible.
Yeah, you gotta make sure it gets in there.
Yeah, you get the idea, guys. So the lower part. Of
You
the
see how
body.
that doesn't really fit inside unless it's malleable. You gotta sort of heat that in. Does yours go in? Not really.
Not quite.
Yeah,
not
yeah,
quite,
same
yeah.
thing for me. Yeah, you need to really heat heat that up. We need to.
It's like a
rework-
bagpipe. You know, like it's like a bagpipe.
Right. Okay. Oh my god.
So it's kind of like that for now.
Right. So we got that like that. Got that like that. Got the head in.
It's kind of, yeah, I got it resting here.
You got it rest in there. Okay, right. So we got that. Then we can stick on the tail.
Yeah, the tail is like kind of two pieces, like so.
Yeah. So again, it's the body bit at the bottom as well. So we've got that connects to the bottom, and then that of course gets squeezed together at the top with this.
Yeah, the tail piece, the tip.
Yeah. What? And you gotta almost like do that bit first. Connect those up together, it kind of holds it together first. You got yours working? Ah, you
Yeah,
got
there
it.
it goes, like that.
Yeah. Be with you 1 second.
Mine doesn't go like fully in.
And that is because it needs to be at that warm temperature. There you go. Alright, mine's all
Yeah, I got it there.
Okay, alright, that's in. That holds it together as well. Alright, cool. So now I can slot that in there. Alright. Now we have the base. So we've got the base here.
Yeah. Base.
And here we have the bottom of the base. Well,
This
yeah.
will be the bottom of the base.
Yeah, let's put that on the bottom of the base. And then let's put the feet in. So I guess this one is the one holding. I'm sure you guys are finding this riveting, right? So it's almost like, did you actually put it on the base first? Thinking.
Yeah, I'm trying to put the feet in first.
So that one's there, that one's
There it
here.
is, yep. Like that. So there's 3 feet touching the ground. You got yours on touching the ground?
Get in. Hold on. Is this the right one?
You can put this one in this.
Oh, that is correct, yeah. And then this one is the one that holding the
gem.
This one in here. There you go. This one is in there. Yep. And then this one is holding the gem.
Ta-da.
Don't have a gem with us right now. Put the horns back in. Are you done already? Jesus.
Yes.
God. About to lose a mouth here.
Slide. This side.
That side. And boom! The wings. So that one goes in here. And this one goes in here. Ta-da! Now, I have these, right? Now I'll bust these open. These are the individual bits that go down his back. So, if you can actually see down here, those that go into the tail, those are these pieces here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So on the back of his back and the tail, you get those.
That was a bad idea.
You just drop one.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. So, yeah, I did quite a few. Back. Yeah, so you get an idea that those are done separately and then they're added afterwards. So there you go, Chocks. We have it all together here.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a...
First one off the production line. Right.
Absolutely. So in terms of the challenging part, Melissa's asking, the challenging part was how to do the separation, to do it in a way that we can consider production speed, production accuracy, and aesthetics all in one together. And it was difficult trying to figure out how to do that. And because Spyro is an entire purple color, it makes it much harder to hide those seams and separations because it's all sort of supposed to be the skin color. Whereas if you look at something like Artorias or Link, that's full of natural cuts. Maybe he's wearing a belt, maybe he's wearing a glove, and it's really easy to then have a separation at that stage. For here, there's no such ability, so we've done it the best way that we could to kind of hide it in a way that you can't really, that it's not so obvious, that you can't really see it from the front. Sure, if you look hard enough, you might be able to see them sort of more closely if you're looking for it, but definitely it was the best way to do it in a way that still doesn't change the shape of the piece. I would rather make sure that it have the cuts, but make sure it's exactly how it's supposed to look like in the game, rather than slightly changing it. Why, you know, instead of having this sort of bring it out. I can't even begin to tell you how horrible it would be looking like if we were to change it in a way that means it could come out of the mold without having to cut it. It would look not like Spyro, basically. So that's the reason why we definitely wanted to make sure that it was represented correctly. So yeah, that is.
I'm counting roughly over 30 pieces. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, obviously 19 is the base.
Yeah, and the 10 bits on the back.
10 bits on the back.
But the 12 on the back, did you say?
10 or 12, because I think it's 10 on the back. Yeah, it's 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, so 30. And you know, it's definitely something that's, we wanted to do that, and that obviously makes it more costly because you have to separate into more pieces. The more pieces you have to make, the more molds you need to make. And the more molds you need to make, they're pretty expensive, Chalk. So, but in order to make sure that you have those beautiful clean lines every time. So, for example, the beautiful purple and the yellow. So many times you'll see on other PVCs, they won't separate it. Now we didn't need to separate it, but if you didn't do that, you would have to spray paint it, and it would be very easy for there to be overspray. And sometimes you'll see that where you see the spraying line is not perfectly in line. And of course we do sprays every now and then, but where we can, we try to separate the pieces. And therefore that allows us to completely spray paint the separate chest area, as you've got that chest area here, for example, any of that piece, spray paint it, and then once you put it onto the purple, and that the purple is all spray painted as well, it's a beautiful, perfect line because they're never painted together. So next time, go and pick up one of your PVCs that you've got sitting on your shelf and go and look at the lines. See where you see if there's overspray. There's no reason for us to do this and separate this unless it's for us to be able to make sure you have the quality of the painting. You could have absolutely not needed to separate those spine areas. You could have not done that, but of course around the edges of it, you will find that more than likely there will be overspray. Where it shouldn't be that different color purple, it is, and vice versa. So that is really key. It's the separation that makes the difference, and it's really important to get that done in that way. Which is the reason why you see over 30 pieces for that, and that's the reason behind it.
Right.
All right, yeah.
Moving on to the next question.
Yeah, I believe so.
All right. So, Catherine Foy, is there a chance you could show us the development of the design of his packaging?
I think that's a great time to actually show that, and I have it right here. Let me just bring that over here. Boom! Check it out. Now, let's bring this good purple boy, put him on my table over here.
All right.
Bring this beautiful packaging over here. Give that a bit of turn. Get that out of the way. If you try and get that out of the way, you can just shove it forward. Yeah. Now, let's start by saying what a great job Sandy's done. It's of course got the beautiful contrast between the purple and the fire. The purple and the fire, you already see that from the way that goes through there. And why don't you talk a little bit about that, Chox? What do you see?
First of all, I see the backdrop, the top area of the box. You can see the scaling. Trying to represent the body of Spyro, the same purpley color, and then immediately you can see the glossy logo, the new logo.
Boom.
Yeah, the new logo for the new game. And then so basically it's a open. There's 3 sides, which are viewable from 3 different angles. So it's
Hi, Chox.
Yeah, I can see you. Yeah. So basically, you can see the front and sides of the statue from these angles, and then there's also a window at the top as well, so the light could actually shine through it, and so it gives the option for those guys that want to keep their statue in box.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those guys that want to.
Otherwise, if it's kind of hard to sort of see it.
Yeah, but if you had the light or torch shining through it, you can see everything in there, and then there's a cutout in the front of the clamshell, so you can actually see his face cleanly and clearly. So we want to keep this kind of tradition in our PVC range, where we have options for guys that want to keep things inside the boxes whilst they can still admire the statue, and the ones that want to take them out of the boxes. So everything's all nicely thought out, and these will look great with the other range of PVCs that you have from us, because with our design we have the actual profile pic on the bottom left hand corner, and then you have the main character name or the title, and even our new TF logo at the bottom.
Absolutely. So this is
TF range
001.
Yeah.
And it's 01 Spy. And
That's
the reason why we've done that is it starts with the T, so you got it there. So it says TF 001, and that means it's the first in the TF line.
First in the TF line, yeah.
Okay. And of course, if we'd gone and said that Link was the first one, that would have been TF 001, and then Crash would have been TF 002, and this would be TF 003, but it wasn't. We didn't think about it, we weren't figuring it all out back then, but now it's TF001, and then we have 01 Spy. And the reason why it says 01 Spy is because you might find that, let's say for example, this is a really popular, and let's say we make another Spyro PVC, right? Or, another character from the game, whatever it may be, right? It would say TF, and let's say it's TF number 10, for example. It would say TF010, because that would be 010, yeah? And then 02 on the other section, 02, and then SPY, because it's part of the Spyro range. Yeah. And that will be the reason how. So you can have, TF 100, and it'd be like number 2 in the Spyro range.
Yeah, so it's much easier to define, and it's easy
It's really
it's
collecting as well,
easy for collectors to identify the line. So if they only just want Spyro line, all they have to do is just concentrate on
anything that says SPY.
Everything that says SPY.
Absolutely.
And if they want to collect everything, then they just look at the TF number, the main number, and go through
right.
all that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's what we figured, which we figured out later. I mean, earlier, I should say.
Yeah. So this is very cool. This is just a mock-up. So this is not the final looking box because
a lot of it's there, but there's some tweaks we want to do. For example, this was, you got some pictures that we need to update on the back. Right now the gem is in the wrong angle for this one. Mm-hmm. It has the gem angled backwards. Do you see that one, Trox?
Yes.
It should be angled forwards, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And make some changes. And I think we're taking out the fire in his eyes over there. And
cool.
look at that expression there. Wow. Yeah, that's
it's a totally different one, isn't it? Happy one.
Absolutely. So, and it shows his range of emotion. So that's what it sort of looks like.
Yeah, and the final piece will also have our First Figures genuine holographic sticker at the top top right corner.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that backdrop chocks inside? Now, of course, we have the Spyro figure inside. Of course, it's just a PVC prototype. It's just in grey.
Yeah. So with all our PVCs, inside there's a diorama backdrop.
I think why don't we just try and see if we can remove that out. Yeah.
So included with all our PVCs, there are a diorama backdrop. So very simple. Put this on the back, and they have our website on the top, and then these internal flaps.
We've got those.
There's a gem on this
side. It's
got
that beautiful gloss UV on there as well.
Yeah, you can feel the difference. So, again, this. Take out our Spyro.
Thank you. This is the prototype that we had. Yeah.
There you go, guys. This is how it is straight out the box. And in the box, there's a little instruction manual which tells you how to do
remove that basically.
Yeah, kind of cut it along the line, but you can actually just reverse this on the back. Yeah.
Perfect. Look at that. Nice little setup if you want to do it. You can just how you want to do it.
Yeah.
So all your TF ranges, all your SD ranges, etc. can have that on there to allow you to sort of hold that up. And if that's something that you're interested in, of course you can have that. And boom! Got his wings sticking out a little bit, so.
Oops, sorry. Put that back.
Yeah. So that is what it is, and of course each one also comes with a little leaflet. In fact, I've got it over here. These are all still subject to approval, etc., etc. And it comes with this little leaflet here, which basically just did a bit on the old Spyro. In it is just telling you what you were saying about cutting it out and putting it like that, Chops, as you were saying. The other thing is just talking a little bit about our other Spyro ranges that we've done, which is the resin stuff. So you can see
the Spyro, the dragon resin, and the crystal dragon resin.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where you get your reward points, Chops. You should always redeem those.
Yeah, as a thank you.
As a thank you very much
for supporting the new line. So you can redeem those reward points on our website.
And this is some of our Crash range. So this is the stuff that we've done previously for the Crash range. And of course, join the Collectors Club. All the information on the back of that. So this will be going in part of the packaging as well. So that will be at the bottom of the base, for the insert for that as well.
Yep, definitely.
All right, cool, nice one. All right, we're going to put that back into the box because we need it.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So that one needs to come back in like that.
Right, so
there we go.
Yep.
All right. Here is the piece. Shove that. Put that in there. Whoops. I did that a bit earlier. And then there you go. I like it, Chocks.
Yeah.
All right, shall we go on to the shout-outs, Chocks?
All right, cool. Right, so shout-outs, where are they from? So shout-outs appear in that thread that I was telling you about in our Collectors Club, where I will randomly drop a comment, and the first 10 people to reply to that comment will get a shout-out from Alex. Really simple.
Let's do it. Shout out to Howard V. How you doing, mate? Derek Baker, honestly. This guy gets so many shout-outs, I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Shout out to Derek Baker, Ashley Liang. How's it going, mate? John Morales, yo, what is up? We've got Brendan Freely in the house. We had some of your questions answered. Brendan Rustello, how's it going? Ryan Rustello, double trouble right there. Bada bing, bada boom. Dudley Stowe, how's it going? Shout out to Bridget Hill. How you doing? And last but not least, Brian D. Weatherlip. Congrats to you guys. You got your shout out right there. Weatherilt, I should say. Weatherilt.
Yeah.
All right, boom. So yeah, Chocks. You decided that Spyro deserves a space in your collection. You got a nice place ready for your shelf, but you're just not quite sure how big he is. Let's do some measurements. Well, you're going to kick that off, of course, first with the can test. Now, the can test is based on the sizing of a 330 millimeter can, which is more common outside of America, more like Asia sort of areas.
Yep.
That's one. And that is two. So this is the tallest one because his head's slightly tilted. Boom. It's about there, just over 1.5 cans tall for your Spyro. So of course he's not a big shelf space, so you should hopefully have no issues finding a place to display him with pride. You got some measurements for me, Chops?
Yes, that's right.
All right, let's go some real measurements rather than can tests.
Well, straight out the box, this is going to be publicized as an 8-inch PVC. So generally, this will be our TF range, kind of the 8-inch, 9-inch, 10-inch range. So
depending on what it's
depending on the character. Yeah. So this is an 8-inch PVC. I have that. Yeah. Like I said, that the top of the left horn is slightly higher, so I have that around about 8 inches, so that's going to be around about 20 centimeters. Okay, and then from the width, obviously the tip of the tail and the wing is kind of sticking out either side, so I have that around about 6 inches wide, which is 14 centimeters wide, and then depth, which will be from the front of
this way. Wait, we're
talking about depth.
Yeah.
So the front of the snout is kind of sticking slightly further forward, and then the wing, this wing here is actually further back. I have that roughly, again, around about 6 inches, so that's 14 centimeters. And the weight, this is not going to be anywhere near any resin weights. I have that around about 500 grams.
That's still, got some nice weight.
It's got some good very weighty for a PVC, yeah.
For sure. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely it's cool. Very happy to do that, to have that there. So this will be going through our typical distribution channels, hopefully at a local retailer near you. We will be hopefully seeing that sort of show up in the places that you would have seen some of our other stuff. You need to go back and sort of check with those guys and see if they will be, if that's where you be able to find it locally. Hopefully you'll be able to find it. If not, hassle whoever it is to try and get them in for you locally.
Or if you're in our collectors club, make sure you ask some of our fellow members where they get theirs from.
Absolutely.
The best thing is always to ask the club members, because those guys will be out there searching for it.
But Chocks, just want to quickly say something. That is not quite all we have to offer for Spyro. Now this is the we'll call it the edition that you can find locally. We'll call it the regular version. You can go find them sort of all over the world, hopefully in a store nearby you. But we also offer another version which is exclusive to firstfigures.com, only limited, available for a limited amount of time, or unless it hits a certain number, and that is the Spyro exclusive. We're going to show that to you guys in just a second. In 3, 2, 1. Boom! Check it out, guys. Spyro exclusive comes with Sparks, his friendly dragonfly friend, right there on his tail. Check it out. Look at that.
See it from the
Yeah. Let's give it a bit of a turn. All right, Chocks. now that we've actually got him out, we can talk a little bit about how there are actually more parts to that. Obviously we saw the raw PVC pieces. As we talk a little bit more about that, why don't we bring those out, because you can actually sort of help you there. So I've got the pieces here.
Right.
All right. Well, let's of course start with the fact that he's now on Spyro's wing. And the great thing about that, of course, is he really is working, he's such a important part of Spark's, of Spyro's adventures that it really made sense to kind of trying to include him. I kind of got this from the feedback when we made the Spyro resin. A lot of people were like, hey, where's Sparks, etc., etc. And I was kind of like, you know what, that's based on the cover, there was no Sparks on that. But I didn't really have that issue with this because there was no Sparks. No, there was no cover at that stage, and I wanted to get him involved with it. So here is Sparks. Why don't we just have a look at some of the details? We can sort of see that from the pieces that we have over here. Now this is his body here. You've got pieces of that as well?
So let's have a look at this. So we're focusing on Sparks right now. So so as you were saying, this is the body.
Right, it's got that body. Now let's talk a little bit about I think it's kind of important to look at those wings. Those wings are really kind of unique. Now like dragonflies have 4 wings, and usually they're flat and they're behind him and they will just be straightforward. Now we could have done that, but we wanted to kind of give that impression of being happy. So it was important to get that kind of happy expression on his face, which is there. And you can see that when you attach the mouth. We can come back to attach the mouth. If you attach the mouth, you got a little mouthpiece?
Yeah.
Now if you attach the mouthpiece, you definitely see there's an upward curves in the mouth. You see that he's got a big smile on his face. Oh, you can't see that with my hands. But he's definitely got a big smiling face there. And the excitement we wanted to have, as you were saying, Chogs, the whole idea of wagging his tail is what you would see with Spyro to be happy if you take on that kind of dog trait. Well, it's the same idea for the personality of Sparks, to be happy, to be excited, to be buzzing around. That is where we have that kind of effect that we've done with the wings. So do you want to talk a little bit about that, Chogs? Did you see how we've done that?
Yeah, so the wings is basically, so this part is in 2 pieces here. And to give kind of the motion, there's actually lines along the wings themselves. So that adds some kind of movement to that. I mean, it's much more, it's really hard to see on here, but when you see the painted version, you get the idea of movement.
It's got that ridged effect, so it's almost like you've got a blur of his wings going through there, and that's really given it, excuse me, really gives him that sort of motion and that movement of his separate, kind of like when you see things spinning and it kind of blurry, you can definitely kind of make out the shapes, but it's too fast. Well, that's what we really wanted to get with that effect, with the sculpting on that. And the bottom 2 wings is one set of wings, and the top 2 are another set of wings. And when I say by bottom and top, I mean that you see these ones are clearly, when you insert it correctly.
Got it?
The ones on the sort of front. Oh, you got it there. Is as you can see over here, you have the ones on the top are much higher up, and the ones on the bottom are below. So when you look at it from the front, you look at it from the front over here, you can definitely see that they are different layers. Now, with Sparks being on the edge of Spyro's wing, you can see that his wing is at an angle, right, Chucks? It's not going straight back, and it's not going straight out like this. It's angled backwards, as you can imagine for a wing, and it's not angled this way either. It's not angled straight backwards. But because it's not, if he was doing that, it would be more obvious. But because it's more like this, what we've had to do is if you notice, we've turned. Sparks is going straight along his wing. He's going straight along his wing, and as a result of that, it means if we didn't change his head, he'd be looking straight. He'd be looking directly into
back of his horns.
Back of his horns. He'd be looking, exactly.
Yeah.
It would be looking directly here. If you followed his eye line, it would be like that. But can you see what we did, Chocks? At the top, if you look from the top down, you can really see that this is his body. It's straight, right? but then look at the angle of his, if you look at the angle of his head, it's going this way, but his tail is going downwards. And that means that we've turned his head to the left to give that ability to also see the person who's looking at Spyro, to also be able to see Sparks as well, looking forward. And that's the reason why we turned the head. And we wanted to give a little bit more movement and life to him by raising up his left foot over here. Now, of course, he has 6 legs. Now, this was something that was quite tricky. And if we go back to some of the difficulties that Melissa was asking, this was quite challenging. The Sparks is connected to very few areas. One is just this one side over here. You have one side of his foot and his other feet, which has 3 connection points, because it needs to be really, how do I say it? He is really small, has really small legs, small areas of contact points with the wings. And the wings itself is really thin. That was incredibly challenging. And it made it difficult for us to put it all together and have that together and working. So what you will notice here, Chocks, is that these wings and these feet are in a translucent material. Can you feel the kind of difference between these versus this?
Yeah, they're different PVC type.
So that's right. This is actually called PP. Sorry. It's called PP material. Now this PP material is a different level compared to PVC, and it's got a strength to it that typical PVC doesn't have. And if you leave PVC out in the heat too long, it will droop down. However, if you look at these, this wing is ABS.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's strong ABS. Then one level above ABS, Chocks, is this PP material, and that is what we had to use for Sparks's wings and Sparks's feet in order to be able to structurally support it. The exclusive version comes with Sparks assembled. It's not removable. He's not removable, nor is it possible to remove his wing, because it's important to have the weight of the wing of Sparks to be able to go, and we have to glue the wing to make sure it's fixed, and otherwise it wouldn't pass the aging test. So that's the reason why Sparks is fixed and he's not removable. And definitely that's why we wanted to make sure that we had that. We're using glue there to make sure it didn't just fall out over time. So if you look at the details, Chocks, of the painting, do you want to talk a little bit about how the wings are and a little bit more of the details that you can see?
Yeah, I mean, it does pop out. It's very vibrant. It's a big contrast to the colours of Spyro.
Yeah.
You see the kind of like a turquoise blue at the very inside of the wings. That's attached to his back, and then it gradually goes into kind of a pink colour before kind of a crossover, a peachy colour around the edges, right?
Yeah.
Pink leading into peach colour. Yeah.
And that's for both sets of wings.
Yeah, and these wings are not flat because they kind of have some curve to it. It gets thicker. It's thin right at the inside, then it kind of gets thicker as it curves into the middle, and then it kind of goes thinner around the edges as well.
Just go look at any other dragonflies and have a look at how their wing shape is. It's kind of like this kind of teardrop thing going on.
And then you get the same kind of a turquoise blue with the claws, his feet.
Individually painted. He has 2 sets of claws on each finger, each hand, so that's a lot of different claws to paint.
Yeah. And then, so that goes into the legs and into the body, which is kind of very...
Got that shading in there as
shading in there, yeah.
Now this is an earlier prototype, Chocks. Right here, there's a hole here, but that's not there. If you see this one here, Chocks, this is the final one.
Yeah.
You can see that there is no hole there now.
Yeah.
The only one hole is there for his foot to be inserted in. So we had to tweak that because some of the difficulties was he was flopping down, and we had to retweak the way that we were doing it. So that was quite a lot of the times we had to rework that. Yeah, so there you go, guys. You can really sort of see what about the teeth, Chocks, and the eyes and the mouth?
Yeah, so again, the eyes are very, very glossy, clean, bright. And then, you can see his teeth. You can see the
both the upper and lower teeth.
yeah
And inside that it's also got color as well.
color. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Chocks, just want to bring over the regular version and the exclusive one so they can just sort of see together.
So Sparks in altogether has seven pieces.
So that's 37 pieces right there.
So.
So you can see which, so this is the regular and this is the exclusive version. This one you should be able to find pretty much, hopefully, a lot of places. And this one will be only available on our website. So the PVC TF exclusive for Spyro is not just Sparks himself. There is also something else that comes with, right, Chocks?
Yep.
So the first thing it comes with is these will be individually numbered. Now on the bottom of the base, it will say, right now it doesn't have that there just yet. There are some things already on there that you can see. It says Spyro the Dragon, etc. It will say exclusive edition, and they will also have a number on there where we will be handwriting what those numbers are.
For those who are familiar with our resin or our previous Artorias SD, we using the same numbering system where, you know, it's first come first served. This is going to be the first piece of the Spyro TF line. So, you know, if you come to our website during the launch and validate the product, you know, the earlier you validate, the higher chance of a lower number you will get. So if, let's say we make, you know, 2,000 pieces, you know, it'd be like 1 out of 2,000, 2 out of 2,000, etc.
Exactly right. Now they will also come with 4 little razors. Razors, you know, we'll call it a little black sort of
kind of padding.
Yeah,
padding.
Just to give a little bit of height to that, and so we'll have that. And that's really to protect the numbering,
protect the base so it doesn't get scratched as you know. Hopefully you're not moving around too much.
Right on the bottom of that. So those would be rows raising it just a little bit.
Yeah.
And it comes with something else, which is really something that's been quite a hallmark of this line, and that is some beautiful exclusive packaging. And we're going to show you that in 3, 2, 1. Boom! Check it out, guys. The exclusive packaging for the Spyro TF PVC. Boom! It looks great. This is obviously the top of it, but no prizes for guessing what this represents. If we turn that down very slowly, you get to really see the beautiful work. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, I love it. Sandy's done an amazing job. She does our packaging here over at First Figures, and look at that, Chocks. If that doesn't look like a beautiful treasure chest, I don't know what does. What a beauty. Now, of course, Chocks, this is a handmade sample at this stage. There are things that we will be doing to make this pop out a little bit more. For example, over here, the bottom of this is a red color, and it will be done in a shiny foil, so that's going to have a little bit more pop to it. Same with the colors of the wording on there. It's going to have a lot more pop to it. But this one is actually really quite specific to the Spyro design. And of course, if you've seen the game and you know in the game they have those treasure chests, you can really see where we've got the inspiration from, and it's come out really nicely, Chocks. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, this is part of the exclusive of this premium box packaging. We wanted to spend a little bit more time on this as well. So
handmade boxes. Yeah. It's really
very sturdy boxes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if we talk a little bit about the design itself, let's just actually, now you sort of have an overall view of it, let's have a look at a bit more of those details. So on the front, if we just look at the front there, it is Spyro, and it has that beautiful picture of Spyro. I think the Spyro logo over here. You have a beautiful picture of Spyro there, and underneath it, of course, Spyro 8-inch PVC paint statue, F for F right there. And going around, as we sort of just said a little bit there, it says TF, the TF branding information there, and then of course what the character is, and of course that is Spyro himself. Look at all those gems. Look at all those gems going around there, Chocks. The beautiful, vibrant colors between the red, the yellow, and the blue. really makes it pop. Now, as we were saying, Chucks, this is the exclusive version, right?
Yep.
Now, the exclusive version means that it's going to have a number on it. We talked about the bottom of the base.
Yep.
So if we actually bring over Spyro back over here.
The exclusive version of Spyro.
Exclusive version of Spyro, not that one.
This one over here.
Just making sure you're watching what's going on.
Alright.
The bottom of the base, of course, as we were saying, will have numbering. Let's say you have number 20, right? On the bottom it says number 20. Well, if you turn this around,
numbered, guys.
limited numbers,
Limited numbered.
and then we give that a beautiful turn. This is the bottom of the base, and this will be in a beautiful red foil. And here you have Spyro.
Etching of Spyro there.
Yep. Spyro information, and here there's a little sort of rectangle, and right now it says product number above it. It says product number above it, and in there we will handwrite number 20 there as well.
Number 20.
Number 20, and of course if you look at the rest, of course there's the legal lines, etc, etc. So yeah, I mean, it's got that beautiful kind of shiny metal look to it, even though it's all just done by printing work, and it's just the beautiful stuff that Sandy's done. Really great. So this really completes that Spyro exclusive sort of effect and feeling, and it gives you a bit more of an idea of what it's going to look like if you were to be ordering the exclusive version. So yeah, that's it right there. There you go, guys. Stick that. It's not quite in the middle. There you go. What do you think, Chucks? What do you think of that packaging?
It's very good, and definitely I can see that in any Spyro fan collection. So it immediately tells me what it is. If you play the game,
If you know it,
If you know it, you know it.
If you know it, you know it.
If you know, you just know it. So yeah, exactly.
And that's what we really want for the packaging. It's got to be able to be instantly recognizable. And oh man, love it. Now, of course, Chucks, it doesn't just quite finish there. When you actually take off the top, over to you. Now, remember, this is just the sample
This is
right
just
now.
a sample, but when it comes to the final one, it'll be much more easier to take out.
Okay. All right, sweet.
Right, so guys, you can see this is a shoebox design. So basically, take this out. Inside looks like this, just a red cover, and then for those that want to keep the lid, and still want to display, you can actually put the bottom box,
Etc. It will just
top
go in,
box,
obviously.
and then you can display,
Etc. Etc.
you can display a piece.
Put out.
Right.
Now, before we show how you can display your piece, there is a covering which will be on here, which is this. Now, this, Chucks, is it's the cover. It's going to have one of those little flaps that you can pull out.
like a ribbon.
Like a ribbon that you can pull out. You'll see that in a minute. Here we have the authenticity card. This is going to be in a beautiful gold foil that goes around there. It's a beautiful authenticity card here, which has your number that allows you to register it on our website. And there's some variations. We have something called a day one edition, which means that if you validate it on our website at a certain time for one day, you have an extra bonus card which is signed by yours truly. So you might have one that has a double, and that means you have the same authenticity card, and you also have the day one editions. And actually, that is the authenticity card, and these are the two choices for the day one card of which one we'll choose. So actually what will happen is the authenticity card will be one, and the other will be the day one edition. So that should make more sense once we have that, again with a beautiful gold foil around there. So depending on if you're day one or not, this is what you will see as soon as you open up the top of the box. Now, once you remove this cover, it's going to be, I'm just going to pop this one out because we haven't got the, so tilt it towards me, Chucks. There you go. Okay, and then of course you have the Spyro in there. Of course, it would be the painted one, and you have it like that. So as Chuckles was saying, if you wanted to keep the box as part of the packaging, you could put that back on it. You would then still be able to see and display your piece.
Yeah.
Because some people, Chucks, particularly for PVCs, they actually quite like to keep them in the packaging. Now, of course, what do we say, Chucks? It's always best to go in threes. One for play, one for display, and one for a rainy day. And that would definitely be a way to have your one for display. You can have that box up in that way, or even the one for the rainy day, you could also display it just like that as well,
that's true,
just that sort of way as well. So definitely it really sort of helps and makes sense to be able to show and design it within the actual packaging itself. So yeah, that's really it, guys. You can really sort of get a better idea of how it looks. Really happy with how that packaging came out, Chucks. Looks absolutely ace. Absolutely ace. All right, I believe we have some more questions, Chucks, before we wrap this bad boy up. Let's put this over here.
Right, okay, so moving along. Next question from Maria.
Niara. Nanase.
Nanase, yeah.
That's the reason why he changed his name.
Did you consider making a DE?
So DE stands for Definitive Edition. That's something we introduced back with the original one, which was done with Midna, and that was back in May, I think, of this year. Now DEs are definitely something that we kind of thought about, and it will be coming more and more as part of our ranges moving forwards. This is definitely something that we haven't done a DE for, but in the future, will we see DEs for PVCs? I don't see why not. It just needs to make sense when and where and how we're going to do that. I think that really needs to tie up with our plans for future conventions and how we're going to do the whole thing, because PVCs are very important for our future conventions.
Because we still want to keep within the criteria of being easily accessible. You know, because DEs will of
keep
course
pushing up the
keep
pricing
pushing
up
up
as
the
well.
prices,
Yeah.
yes.
So Definitive Edition usually comes with something extra, more than the exclusive would normally come with, maybe kind of like a scenery, something like that. That's definitely something that we have considered, and you know, it's possible that we could do a retroactive DE where we could actually create a diorama that you then simply just, because this is all fixed size, we have the ability to just maybe just slot that in and have that as part of a diorama. Hey, let us know in the comments if that's something that you would want to see. Let us know in the club. Should we create a subsequent DE where it's after the fact, where you just have, it's almost like a diorama thing that allows for you to just slot in your exclusive or your regular into that place? And yeah, something to consider. Who knows? Who knows? Something you can consider. Okay. We've certainly thrown a few numbers, sort of ideas around, but
yeah, we're open up for some ideas.
Yeah.
Okay, next question from Victor Navarro Vilgren. Can we expect more characters from the franchise to get a PVC like Hunter, Ripto, Alora?
You tell us, guys. What do you want to see? Do you want to see more of Spyro? Do you want to see more of? Do you want to see Ripto, Hunter? We would like to hear what you guys. A lot of what you guys say influences in what we do. So you know, your voices are heard, or should I say, your lack of voices are also heard as well. So it really goes both ways. If people are pushing for these, rallying the fans for certain characters, and there's not a lot of buzz, then that's the answer to that. If there are a lot of voices asking for it, hey, who are we to just sort of say no? So definitely, if that's something that you're passionate about, we would love to hear from you guys.
All right, next question from Alessio Bucci. Can you show us a comparison with PVC Crash Bandicoot? And from Matthew McClory, when designing PVC, did you scale it up to the Crash Bandicoot PVC? So
absolutely, we considered both of them at the same time. So I have I have a Crash PVC. It's obviously boom right here. It's from the remastered version, and you can see they are perfectly scaled. Now we did that scaling with our resin pieces of Spyro and Crash, where Spyro is definitely taller than, Crash is definitely taller than Spyro, but we talked about this right at the beginning. Humanoid standing up versus the depth. Look at the depth difference between the two. You can see he's much longer over here for Spyro if you compare it to Crash. So you can see much more here, but shorter, because that makes sense when you're talking about an animal. And you definitely see that Spyro is the smaller of the two, as he should be, but he's actually in the same scale. If you actually talk about all the resin, you'll actually find out there's more resin actually in,
PVC.
Thanks. I would suggest cutting that, but don't worry about it. But if you look at the actual material being used, actually there's more with Spyro than there is with Crash right there. So you can definitely see that they are meant to be displayed together. They look great next to each other.
You have to get them both because growing up playing on the PlayStation, these were the characters.
Certainly from the PS1
the mascots,
era, the mascot
the
of the
mascots of the
PS1 era,
PlayStations,
and it's fantastic that they're both under the Activision umbrellas for us to allow for us to actually make these pieces and actually scale them in that way. So it's absolutely. So this is Alessio. This is for you. You can see that this is how they look together, and obviously for Matthew's question, the answer is we absolutely considered the sizing of them to make sure that they were like this, and hopefully you agree it makes sense that this is the way that they look together. Now, in terms of where we came up with our scale references, there isn't that much. There is obviously the Skylanders where you see that Crash actually joined it. That's kind of where we sort of saw it, and a lot of inspiration sort of came from there. Definitely though, as you can imagine, with a standing up character versus a animal character, you can really sort of see how that would sort of look like. So yeah, I think also Jocks, I think what it would be nice to be able to see as well is why don't we actually show them all together. When I say them all together, let's show Spyro with the Spyro PVC with the Spyro resin as well.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, should we do that as well?
Yeah, let's do that.
Alright, why don't we show that in 3, 2, 1. Boom! Check it out, guys. Spyro resin, OG Spyro from the original game with, check it out, the follow-ups, the reignited together in one shot. I love it, Jocks. That is how many years history? 20 years of history? How many years has it been?
Quite long.
Let us know in the comments.
Quite long.
But I'm really happy to be able to see these all together and have it part of the First to Figures products that we offer, to see the Spyro and the resin piece, and you get to see it next to these pieces here, and you can really see that if you're fortunate enough to have gotten one of these pieces, how it would look like if you were to pick up a Spyro PVC, how you can imagine your shelf looking, and yeah, that's where we're at, Chocks. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. For those guys that grew up playing Spyro, if you prefer the original one, hey, we've got the resin version. And for those guys that continue to support Spyro, we have the reignited version, and hopefully, there's a Spyro for everyone, really. Old and new. Old and new fans.
New. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And you can really sort of see the difference between the two now. Differences of the colors, the differences of the design, but you can really distinctively say this is definitely Spyro, of course, this is the OG. You can really sort of see how that translates between the two. Wow, you can really sort of see. Look at the nose differences.
Yeah, it's changed so much.
Do you know how? Do you remember those pop-up lights of the cars?
Oh yeah.
Those like the Rage in the '70s or whatever it was. Yeah, it's like pop-up lights. Compared to the new, more sleeker design of the noses. Is that right? Yeah.
And the brow as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can see how the brows completely like. You see them next to each other like that. That's funny. I love it. But yeah, absolutely the goodest of purple boys right here, right now. Hopefully you like what you see. All right, Chocks, I believe we have one last question.
All right, cool. Right, one last one from Deborah Higgins. I know you are focusing on Reignited right now, so I was wondering if future Spyro statues for Reignited would only be PVC or if there might be a resin eventually.
Well, that's a great question. I think it is. We've definitely got plans to do a resin version from the reignited version, and that's definitely going to be sort of in sort of scale of this Spyro as well. And hey, who knows? I would probably like to actually see potentially a PVC TF of the original design in the same scale as this one here. So you have the resin, you have two versions of Spyro in resin, that's the OG and the reignited, and two versions of TF PVCs, of course, and that will be the reignited and the OG. Let me know what you guys think. Would you like to see that as well? That's definitely something would be I would love to do in the future. I think it would be a nice little complete set to be able to give homage to both versions of Spyro, because he deserves it. You're worth it, baby. All right, Chocks, that's about it. Anything you want to add before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, sure. So thanks for supporting us. Thanks for watching this documentary. And if you're a Spyro fan, please share this out to all the Spyro fans out there. And do check us out on other social media platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. We're everywhere.
Just we try to be everywhere.
Trying to be everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we'll be there to answer any questions you have, any concerns with how to,
purchase, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And likewise, if you have any questions in this video on YouTube or whatever, just questions below. We will get back to you on that as well. All right, Chooks, that's another one wrapped up. All right, I'm your host, Alex.
I'm Chuckles.
FRF is love.
FRF is life.
And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Laters.